What if every drop of ocean water on Earth vanished in exactly 7 days? 321 million cubic miles of water gone. The hidden abyss revealed, and humanity about to discover that some things were meant to stay buried beneath the waves. Imagine waking up on day one to a news alert that breaks every scientific law we know. The ocean levels are dropping. Fast, not receding like a tide vanishing, evaporating into nothing. And scientists have calculated we have exactly 1 week before the ocean floor is completely exposed. This isn't a gradual change. This is a countdown to a world we were never meant to see. A world where the bottom of the Mariana Trench becomes a tourist destination, where lost civilizations emerge from their watery graves, and where the creatures of the deep are forced into a light they were never designed to survive. Let's watch our world transform, day by day. Day 1. The first 24 hours feel almost mundane. Coastal cities notice their beaches extending outward. Harbors become mud. Ships that were once floating now rest awkwardly on newly exposed seabed, their hulls groaning against rock and sand they were never meant to touch. But here's what people don't realize yet. The ocean doesn't just sit there looking pretty. It's the engine of our entire climate system. Within 12 hours, weather patterns across the globe start going haywire. The jet stream, which depends on ocean temperatures to maintain its path, begins to wobble erratically. Hurricanes that were forming in the Atlantic simply ... Stop. The energy source. Warm ocean water is disappearing beneath them. Sounds good, right? No more hurricanes. Wrong. Because by hour 18, something far worse begins. Without the ocean's moderating influence, temperature extremes hit coastal regions like a sledgehammer. Places that were 75 degrees in the morning are hitting 110 by afternoon. The thermo buffer that kept our planet habitable is evaporating along with the water. And then, at the 24-hour mark, marine biologists start reporting the horror show. Whales, dolphins, sharks, every creature that depends on buoyancy to survive, is now being crushed by its own weight. A blue whale, the largest animal ever to exist, weighs up to 200 tons. In water, that's manageable. On land, its own skeleton collapses. Its organs crush against its rib cage. By the end of day 1, every single whale on Earth is dead or dying. The beaches of every continent are lined with the corpses of creatures that ruled the oceans for millions of years. The smell, a mixture of rotting flesh and evaporating brine, becomes so overwhelming that coastal cities begin but the evacuation won't save them from what's coming. Day 2. The ocean has dropped by over 1,000 feet. The continental shelf's massive underwater plateaus that ring every continent are now exposed, creating vast new coastlines that stretch for hundreds of miles. And that's when we start finding things. Shipwrecks. Thousands of them. The entire history of human maritime travel laid bare in a single day. Viking longships next to World War II submarines. Ancient Phoenician trading vessels resting beside modern cargo ships. The Titanic, no longer a deep-sea mystery, now just another wreck on a muddy plain. But the shipwrecks aren't the interesting part, because at 36 hours, a research drone flying over the newly exposed North Atlantic seabed captures something that makes every archaeologist in the world stop breathing. Structures. Massive stone structures arranged in geometric patterns. Walls, towers, what looks like an entire city, preserved in the deep-sea mud for thousands of years. The scientific community erupts. Is this Atlantis? Some other lost civilization? How advanced were they? Why did they build in what's now the middle of the ocean? The answer comes 6 hours later when carbon dating reveals the truth. These structures are over 12,000 years old. Built when sea levels were lower during the last ice age. Built by people we have no record of. People who apparently had engineering capabilities that rival our own. But here's the disturbing part. As the drones explore deeper, they find evidence these cities didn't gradually flood. They were abandoned. Quickly, like the inhabitants knew something was coming and fled. What were they running from? Day 3. The ocean is now down 40%, and humanity discovers why those ancient people ran. At 72 hours, when the water level drops below 6,000 feet, we exposed the mid-ocean ridges, volcanic mountain ranges that run like scars across the planet's surface. These ridges are where new ocean floor is constantly being created, where magma from Earth's mantle pushes up through cracks in the crust. And now, without billions of tons of water pressing down on them, those cracks start to widen. The first eruption happens in the mid-Atlantic ridge, a volcanic explosion so massive it registers as a magnitude 7.8 earthquake. Lava fountains 2 miles high, visible from space. The heat is so intense it melts the surrounding seabed into rivers of molten glass. Within 6 hours, 43 separate volcanic eruptions are reported along mid-ocean ridges worldwide. The Pacific Ring of Fire, already the most volcanically active region on Earth, becomes an inferno. Lava flows that would normally cool instantly in seawater now spread unchecked, creating vast plains of molten rock. The ash. Oh God, the ash. Without water to contain it, volcanic ash from these underwater eruptions is blown directly into the atmosphere. By the end of day 3, the sky begins to darken, not gradually within hours. The sun becomes a pale disk behind a gray veil that stretches across every continent. Global temperatures, already fluctuating wildly, begin to plummet. The ash is reflecting sunlight back into space. Scientists project that within 2 weeks, we'll enter a volcanic winter that could last years. But that's not the worst part. Day 4. 96 hours in, and the ocean has dropped by 65%. We've now exposed the abyssal plains, the vast, flat expanses that cover most of the deep ocean floor. And that's when we meet the neighbors. See, we've explored less than 5% of the ocean. We know more about the surface of Mars than we do about our own deep sea. We assumed that below a certain depth, nothing much lived down there. Not enough food? Too much pressure? Too dark? We were catastrophically wrong. The first creatures emerge in the newly exposed trenches off Japan. Things that have never seen light, never needed to. Their bodies are transparent, their organs visible through translucent skin. Some are the size of buses. Others are small but hunt in swarms of millions. They're dying, of course. The pressure change is killing them as surely as it killed the whales. But in their death throes, they're moving, crawling, dragging themselves across the muddy plains toward what? Water. Food. They don't know. They just know their world is ending. But some of them, the ones that lived closer to the surface, the ones that occasionally ventured into shallower waters, some of them are adapting. At hour 100, reports come in from what used to be the coast of Peru. Something attacked a evacuation convoy, something large, with bioluminescent lures and teeth the size of machetes. A deep-sea predator that's discovered humans are slower on land than fish were in water. By the end of day 4, 53 people are dead, killed by creatures we didn't know existed until this week, and the attacks are accelerating. Day 5. The ocean is now 75% gone. Only the deepest trenches still hold water. The Mariana, the Puerto Rico, the Java Trench. Isolated pools of the old world, surrounded by miles of exposed seafloor. This is when the geopolitical situation collapses into chaos. Because, remember all those underwater structures we found on day 2? Turns out they're not just archaeological curiosities. Several of them are sitting on top of massive rare earth mineral deposits. Neodymium, lithium, cobalt. The exact materials needed for batteries, electronics, and military hardware. And they're now accessible, just sitting there, undefended. China moves first, sending troops to secure a site in the South China Sea. The United States responds by deploying Marines to a different structure off the Mariana Trench. Russia, not to be left out, occupies 3 separate locations in the Arctic seabed. By hour 130, the first shots are fired. A Chinese frigate, now beached and useless, still has functional missiles. It targets an American base being established on what used to be an undersea mountain. The missile never reaches its target, but it doesn't matter. The message is clear. The old borders don't apply anymore. The ocean floor is unclaimed territory, and everyone wants a piece. Within 12 hours, 47 countries are in armed conflict over newly exposed seabed. Not wars, officially, just peacekeeping operations and archaeological protections. The UN tries to intervene, but nobody's listening. There's too much at stake. And while humans fight over rocks and ruins, something far worse is happening to the planet itself. Day 6. At 144 hours, with 85% of the ocean gone, Earth's rotation begins to change. The ocean's mass, 1.4 billion trillion tons of water, has been acting as a stabilizing force on our planet's spin. Now that mass is gone, vanished, and Earth is reacting like a figure skater pulling in their arms. We're spinning faster. Not much, just 0.003%. But that's enough to shorten each day by 2.6 seconds. Enough to shift the centrifugal force that holds our atmosphere in place. Enough to cause every fault line on the planet to shift slightly, triggering earthquakes in regions that haven't seen them in centuries. London experiences its first major earthquake, magnitude 6.2 in Chicago, sitting on bedrock that's been stable for millions of years, is hit by a 5.8. The Hoover Dam develops cracks, but the earthquakes are just a symptom of a deeper problem. The real horror is what's happening to Earth's magnetic field. The ocean floor, it turns out, acts as a massive electrical conductor. The movement of salt water across magnetic field lines generates currents that help maintain Earth's magnetosphere, the invisible shield that protects us from solar radiation. With the ocean gone, that shield is weakening rapidly. By the end of day 6, compasses worldwide are spinning uselessly. Navigation satellites are malfunctioning. The northern lights, normally confined to polar regions, are visible as far south as Mexico. Beautiful, terrifying, a sign that our planet's defenses are failing. And then the sun burps. A minor solar flare, the kind that happens weekly and normally gets absorbed by our magnetosphere, except now there's nothing to absorb it. The electromagnetic pulse hits Earth at hour 160. Every unshielded electronic device within 30 degrees of the equator is instantly fried. Power grids collapse. Communications go dark. 2 billion people lose electricity in a single moment. The global death toll, already in the millions from starvation, dehydration, and violence, spikes by another 300,000 in the first hour. Hospitals lose power. Life support systems fail. The weakest die first. Day 7. The final day. 95% of the ocean is gone. Only the Mariana Trench, the deepest point on Earth, still holds a shrinking pool of water. And in that pool, something is moving. A research team that made it to the trench's edge with portable equipment sends back their final transmission. They've lowered a camera into the remaining water. At a depth of 35,000 feet, the absolute bottom of the old ocean, they find something that shouldn't exist. A rift. Not a natural trench, but a perfectly geometric cut in the ocean floor. Edges too straight to be geological. And it's glowing, a faint bioluminescent pulse coming from inside. The camera descends into the rift. The footage shows walls covered in the same symbols found on those ancient underwater cities. But these are pristine, undamaged by time or water, as if they were carved yesterday. And at the bottom of the rift, 36,000 feet below what used to be sea level, the camera captures something that makes the scientific community realize why the ocean disappeared. It didn't evaporate. It didn't drain away. It was taken. The last image transmitted shows a massive structured part machine. Part something else, still humming with power. Still active. And hound it. Thousands of channels carved into the bedrock. Channels that once pumped water ... somewhere. The transmission cuts out. The research team never reports back. And then, at exactly 168 hours, the ocean begins to return. Not slowly, not gradually. All at once, water erupts from the rift like a planetary-scale fountain. It's not the same water, it's coming back wrong. The temperature is off. The salinity is different. It's carrying things. Organisms, chemicals, materials that don't match anything in our periodic table. Within 3 hours, the ocean is back to 50%. Within 6 hours, it's at 80%. By the end of day 7, the water level has returned to exactly where it was on day 1. As if nothing happened, except for the 3.2 billion people who are now dead, except for the 73 coastal cities that were destroyed, except for the wars still raging over territories that are once again underwater, except for the creatures from the deep that didn't make it back to the water in time and now roam the interior of continents, and except for the knowledge that somewhere beneath 35,000 feet of water, there's a machine we didn't build, a machine that can move oceans, a machine that's still running. Scientists who survived analyze the data and reach a disturbing conclusion. This has happened before, multiple times. The geological record shows at least 7 other events in Earth's history, where sea levels dropped catastrophically and then returned just as quickly. The ancient cities we found, they weren't from one civilization. They were from 7 different civilizations. All of them wiped out the same way. All of them forgotten when the waters returned, and we're just the latest. So what if the ocean drained in 7 days? We'd learn that Earth has secrets. Deep secrets. The kind that have been kept hidden for millions of years beneath crushing pressure and absolute darkness. The kind that occasionally surface to remind us of something important. We're not in charge here whenever we're... The ocean isn't just water. It's a lid, a seal, a barrier between us and something else. Something older. Something that's been waiting. And every few 100,000 years, it opens that barrier just long enough to see if we're ready yet. We weren't. But what if the next disaster isn't from below? What if it's from the most fundamental force in the universe, turning against you? What if gravity suddenly doubled, and your own skeleton became your prison? Click the next video. Your body weight is about to become your worst enemy.